Maurice and Kimmy's marriage, as it is being shown right now, has reached a place that many viewers find deeply uncomfortable. What stands out is not one single comment or one isolated scene, but a pattern that keeps repeating. Again and again, the focus turns back to Maurice's wants, Maurice's urges, and Maurice's explanations, while Kimmy appears quieter, more tired, and emotionally worn down. This is no longer coming across as playful honesty or open communication between spouses. It feels heavy. It feels unbalanced. And most of all, it feels like Kimmy is carrying far more emotional weight than she should have to. When people say Kimmy looks drained, they are not being dramatic. It shows in her body language. It shows in her face. It shows in how carefully she chooses her words. She often looks like someone who is trying to keep the peace rather than speak freely. That kind of restraint does not come from comfort. It usually comes from exhaustion. And that exhaustion becomes even more concerning when you remember everything she has been through physically and emotionally over the last few years. From the very beginning of their relationship on the show, many viewers noticed something that felt off. There was always a subtle imbalance in how power showed up. Maurice often came across as the one whose needs took center stage, while Kimmy adjusted, explained, or softened herself around him. Even before her cancer journey, there were moments that made people pause. The vasectomy conversation is one of the clearest examples. It did not feel like a shared, thoughtful decision built on mutual comfort. It felt like control over outcomes and control over access. At the time, some people brushed it off. Looking back now, it fits into a larger pattern that has become harder to ignore. Then came Kimmy's cancer diagnosis, which changed everything. This was not a small health issue. This was life-threatening. This was chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, fear, pain, and recovery. Anyone with basic empathy understands that an experience like that reshapes a person completely. It changes how you feel in your body. It changes your energy. It changes your emotions. It can change your sense of safety and your sense of self. Healing from something like that is not quick and it is not linear. Some days you feel okay. Other days you feel empty, sore, or disconnected from your own body. What made many viewers uncomfortable is that even after all of this, Kimmy still seemed to take responsibility for not meeting Maurice's sexual expectations. She spoke about trying to work on her drive. She spoke about understanding his needs. She showed up trying to meet him halfway while she herself was still healing. That alone should have been enough for Maurice to slow down, listen, and reassess. Instead, the conversations kept circling back to him. The therapy scenes made this dynamic even clearer. When Maurice talks about sex, it does not sound like intimacy. It does not sound like connection or closeness. It sounds urgent. It sounds mechanical. It sounds like something he feels entitled to rather than something that is shared between two people. The comparison he made between sex and going to the refrigerator shocked many viewers. A refrigerator does not have pain. A refrigerator does not get tired. A refrigerator does not have trauma or boundaries. By using that comparison, he reduced Kimmy to something that exists to meet his urges. That is not partnership. That is not care. That is not love. The therapist tried to gently slow the conversation down and explore where this urgency was coming from. The discussion about Maurice's childhood and food scarcity may help explain certain emotional wounds, but explanation is not the same as excuse. Many people grow up with difficult childhoods and still learn how to regulate themselves as adults. Trauma can help us understand behavior, but it does not justify ignoring someone else's limits or causing harm. At some point, accountability has to enter the room. What made the scene even harder to watch was Kimmy's response. Instead of expressing anger or setting firm boundaries, she went into comfort mode. She tried to empathize with Maurice. She tried to soothe him. She tried to make him feel understood. This is a very common response from people who have learned to manage other people's emotions in order to keep the peace. Over time, that becomes exhausting. You can see it in her eyes. You can hear it in her voice. sometimes holding back when your words place unnecessary weight on your partner. Another uncomfortable detail is how often Maurice centers his explanations instead of Kimmi's experience. He explains why he feels the way he does. He explains his past. He explains his urges. But explanation is not the same as change. You can understand your behavior and still continue to harm someone if you do not take responsibility for adjusting it. Growth requires action, not just insight. Kimmi's quiet responses suggest she may be tired of repeating herself. When someone explains their limits again and again and still feels unheard, they often stop explaining. They become quieter. They conserve energy. That silence is not agreement, it is fatigue, and that fatigue is visible in her demeanor. There is also a gendered aspect to this that many viewers recognize. Women are often taught to accommodate, to nurture, and to prioritize harmony over their own comfort. Men are often encouraged to express desire and assert needs. When these social patterns play out in a marriage, they can create deep imbalance. Kimmi's situation reflects a reality many women recognize, which is why it resonates so strongly with viewers. Another issue is how Maurice frames compromise. Compromise is not one person constantly adjusting while the other stays the same. True compromise requires both people to shift. Right now, it appears Kimmi is the one doing most of the bending. That is not sustainable. Over time, it leads to emotional shutdown. It is also worth noting that desire changes in long-term relationships even without illness. Life stress, work, aging, and emotional connection all play a role. Expecting constant intensity ignores the reality of long-term partnership. Marriage is about seasons. Some seasons are passionate, some are quiet, some are focused on survival and healing. Love adapts to those seasons instead of fighting them. What viewers are reacting to is not a lack of intimacy, it is a lack of tenderness. Tenderness looks like slowing down. It looks like asking and not demanding. It looks like caring more about your partner's comfort than your own urges. That tenderness seems missing in these scenes, and its absence is loud. Kimmi's strength is undeniable. She has shown resilience, grace, and patience. But strength should not be mistaken for endless capacity. Even the strongest people have limits. When someone is expected to be strong all the time, they are rarely given room to rest. Kimmi deserves rest, not just physically, but emotionally. Maurice's insistence on framing himself as deprived shifts responsibility away from him. It suggests that Kimmi's healing is an obstacle rather than a shared journey. That mindset can damage trust. When one partner feels like a problem to be solved instead of a person to be supported, intimacy suffers even more. The discomfort viewers feel is rooted in empathy. Many people watching are not judging Kimmi or attacking Maurice. They are recognizing dynamics they have seen or experienced themselves. They are responding to the imbalance, the pressure, and the exhaustion that feels familiar. Marriage should be a place where vulnerability is met with care. When vulnerability is met with urgency or entitlement, it closes people off. Kimmi appears to be closing in on herself, not because she lacks love, but because she may be protecting what little energy she has left. Another concerning detail is how little curiosity Maurice shows about Kimmi's inner world right now. Curiosity sounds like asking how she feels without turning the answer into a debate. It sounds like listening without defending. It sounds like accepting a discomfort instead of trying to fix it through access. That kind of curiosity builds trust. Its absence weakens it. As these scenes continue, the question becomes whether Maurice is willing to truly adjust or whether he will continue to center himself. Adjustment does not mean suppressing desire forever. It means choosing patience in moments when your partner needs it. It means recognizing that intimacy is more than physical frequency. For Kimmi, the cost of this imbalance is visible. Emotional exhaustion often shows up as withdrawal, quietness, and resignation. Those are warning signs, not signs of peace. When someone stops pushing back, it often means they no longer believe pushing will change anything. Viewers are not wrong to feel concerned. What they are seeing challenges the idea of marriage as mutual care. It raises questions about how often women are expected to give more, even when they have already given everything. Until Maurice can shift from explaining himself to truly listening, the dynamic will remain strained. Listening requires humility. It requires sitting with discomfort instead of trying to escape it through control or entitlement. That kind of growth is difficult, but it is necessary. This situation also invites a larger conversation about how society views sex, healing, and partnership. Desire should never outweigh compassion. Intimacy should never come at the cost of someone's peace. Love should feel safe, not demanding. Kimmi's story is not just about her marriage. It's about how easily care can be overshadowed by pressure. It's about how strength can be mistaken for permission to ask for more. And it's about how healing requires space, patience, and respect. As long as these needs remain unmet, the exhaustion on Kimmi's face will continue to speak louder than words. And until that changes, viewers will continue to question what they are seeing, not out of judgment, but out of genuine concern for a woman who deserves softness after everything she has endured.